Morning, everybody. It's good to see you today and to be a part of worship. If you're watching online or you're here, we are so grateful that you have come today. It's not by any accident. You are here because God has led you here and He's got something to say to you. I want to start this morning by not ignoring what took place yesterday. Some of you may not know, and some of you may, and it's been a huge topic. So just to be able to get perspective from what happened yesterday with the shooting attempt in Pennsylvania with the former President Trump. We know that people died, and we need to pray for their families. We need to pray for the former president, and we also need to pray for our nation, especially in this election season, and keep our perspective on where it needs to be. So if you will, pray with me. Heavenly Father, we are grateful today to be able to talk to you. Lord, you are God, and we're not. But you have given us the privilege to be able to talk and the privilege to ask things and to exalt you. But God, we do ask that you would be with our nation and that you would be with the former president and anyone else who is involved in part of what took place yesterday and the trauma of that, but also the family of those who lost their lives. God, I pray that you would help us to put our eyes and keep our trust in you. And as this season continues, election season, help us just to continue to look towards you and to trust you. And Lord, we love where we're at. We love living here. And Lord, we love the fact that you have given us this place to live. So we give that to you for you to solve. In Jesus' name, amen. What James is saying today, as we look in the book of James in chapter 4, if you want to turn there, has a lot to do with what took place yesterday in thinking about making plans and plans changing. James as a whole is a book really that is straightforward about practical faith. It's basically this question: if you say you have faith, how are you supposed to live it out? If you say you have faith, you're supposed to bridle your tongue. If you say you have faith, then you're not supposed to go to war with people that are around you. If you say that you have faith this morning, you do not make plans without God in mind. Do not make plans without God in mind. We all make plans, don't we? We all plan. Either I'm planning to eat lunch today. I hope that you're going to plan to do that. I'm planning to do something tomorrow. I've got work tomorrow, so I'm planning for that. Some of you plan as far out as a month or 2 months. Some plan as far as 5 years. We have plans here at the church. There are calendars all over the offices that show that we have plans for what we're going to do. Now, the problem's not with having plans. The problem is having plans without God. And so James gets into this in verse number 13. Look at it with me. He says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit." There's nothing wrong with that. But yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time, then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil. So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. When you make plans, make sure that God is part of your plans. Actually, make God the planner of your plans. Now, when you make plans, we all do. Some plan to marry, some plan to stay single. As I've said, we all make plans, but how we plan and what we do makes a difference. I know it's summer, students, but I want to do a little bit of studying today and study chronemics, if y'all even know what chronemics are. Chronemics is the study of time in relation to communication. It means this, that there are some people who communicate who they are with the way they treat time. For instance, if you're punctual or if you're early, it sends a message of who you are. Or if you're late, it sends a message of who you are. Or if you plan ahead or if you just wing it. One or the other is just sending a message. I saw that really evident when we took a mission trip to Guatemala in Central America. Central American time is kind of a relative thing. The sun comes up, they get up, go to work, sun goes down, they go to bed. The time is just relative. We fly into Guatemala City, and in Guatemala City to the place we're going to minister is a drive of between 3 and 8 hours. It's according to the traffic, it's according to whatever happens. I mean, most of the time it's about 5 hours, but it has been 3 before and it's been 8. But if you ask them, how long will it take to get to Sololá from Guatemala City? And they will say about 3 hours. But it could be 3 and it could be 8. Many times you ask them, how long is it going to take? You know, you're driving down the road. Hey, how close are we? Oh, 15 minutes. You're an hour away for sure. See, what they do with time is they don't put a lot of influence or a lot of pressure on time in their lives. They just kind of live each moment. They enjoy the moments. They shoot off fireworks for everything. I mean, if it's a wedding, whatever it is, they shoot off fireworks because they celebrate. It's in the moment they live. Other people, they live for tomorrow. I've got to work so that I can build a future. I've got to do, and there's nothing wrong with either one of those. Except for when you do it without God. Because here's what James is saying is if you make plans without God, you're probably going to be disappointed in the end. Students, you make plans. You make plans to date somebody. You make plans to what you're going to do in the next season of your life. When you're working, you make those plans. But here's the thing is you've got to understand that if you make plans, you will be disappointed if those plans don't make it. And so James is really getting at this, and he's saying, why would we make plans without God? Well, here is the reason why that we should not make plans without God. Write these things down. Especially the younger you are, the more important this is. I really truly believe because this gets you started in life, that if you're going to make plans for life, these are three reasons why that you should have God. Number one is you're not in control. Look at this text. It says, come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. No, I'm at the wrong spot. Verse 13, come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make profit. You do not know what tomorrow will bring. It means you're not in control. God's in control of tomorrow. We know that life happens, right? Life happens. There are things that we want. I want to live a long life with my wife and with my children, but their plans change sometimes. I want to be able to grow old. Plans change. I want to be able to do this and that, and they change. So it means that you're not in control of what happens tomorrow. Anything could happen. When we went through COVID, we went through all these things. It's evident that things change at a moment's notice. Now, the reason why that we are not in control is because life is complicated. Now, let me say I make plans for tomorrow and I say I'm going to do this. We're going to go on vacation. Well, what if something else happens, right? Life is complicated. It means people get in the way. Money gets in the way. There are relationships that get in the way of my plans. Listen, I have plans and you might mess them up. And I'm not in control of it. As a matter of fact, I want you to listen to this sermon, but that's all up to you. We all have plans, but we're not in control of life. So when you make plans, you have to understand that your plans may not work out. You might have a boyfriend or girlfriend and they decide they don't like you. You might be planning for the future and something takes place. So what it says is life is complicated. It happens. And then the other thing that takes place, the reason why we're not in control is because life is uncertain. We really don't know. It says Psalm 27:1, boast not thyself or yourself of tomorrow, for you know not what the day brings forth. Life is frail. Life is frail. And I know that we think that it may not when you're younger, but when you're older, you understand that life is frail. We want to be in control. And it's an anxious moment when we find out that we're not in control. That was evident in our lives when we went to Moldova. My wife and I went to Moldova on a mission trip years and years ago when our girls were really little. And we left the girls, little babies, with my mother-in-law. And so while we were in Moldova, we were a little anxious about getting home. So it was time to go home, and we flew into France, and we missed our flight in France. And so we had to stay the night in France. Paris, France. Disneyland hotel for the night, the Eiffel Tower right off the distance. I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. My wife cried the whole time. Now, my reaction to the messed up plans is like, I like these plans better. That's right. It's Paris, baby. And she was like, get me home. I want to go home to babies. Everybody has reaction to plans, but understand this, is that plans can change tomorrow. And so before the plans change tomorrow, you need to understand that God's plans do not change. God is in control. And so if we are going to plan, we need to have Him in mind when we make our plans. We need to understand that we have to have something certain in our lives for the uncertainty that happens, or we will be sorely disappointed. The second reason why we should make plans with God in mind is that your days are numbered. Your days are numbered. It says even further in the text, it says, what is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. You are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. It seems like James is really being harsh. Seems like that he's making life insignificant. Like life doesn't matter. You can live and you die and let's move on. It's not necessarily the case that James is not trying to make life disappointing and make like that you don't matter. What he's actually saying is that the life that you do have in the scheme of everything just doesn't last long. It's gone. And I know there are people that live 115 years, but there are people that even in their 80s, you can listen to people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s say life is short. We don't have a lot of span in our lives. And so once your life is gone, it is a vapor, it's gone. But as you read on in the text, it's saying that it appears for a little time, then vanishes. And then it says in verse number 17 that we should know, whoever knows the right thing to do. So it means that time is not something that is just an 80-year thing where we say, okay, let's make plans for God. God, I'm going to serve you the rest of my life. No, it's actually realizing how are you going to live each moment that you have, because James is saying you're not promised tomorrow, so how are you going to live today? Understand this, you're not promised tomorrow. You can make plans for tomorrow, but you say, God, if it's your will for us to make plans tomorrow, to go on vacation, to have this relationship, to go to this college, to play this sport, Lord, if that's your will, good. But if not, what am I going to do in this moment that I do have that matters in life? What if I make plans that I'm going to play professional sports and I break my leg tomorrow and can't do it? What if I was going to have a relationship with a spouse for the rest of my life and someone in the relationship said no? What am I going to do? You see, one reaction is that we could be bitter, we could really have hate in our hearts, we could really question it, or the other option is, yes, there's disappointment, yes, there's things that when plans don't happen, my goodness, it's hard to go through, but we can know in this moment that God has given us that we can glorify Him in this moment that He has given. Your days are numbered, you don't have that much time, it's short. And so what we do is instead of counting the years, we count the days. It says, Psalm 90 verse 12, so teach us to number our days that we may get a heart of wisdom. Teach us to number our days. Take one day at a time. Instead of wrapping your life around your future plans, live today and plan today for the future. The Rolling Stones, some of y'all might have been around when it came out, 1964. But some of you may not, but you've heard the Rolling Stones came out with a song, "Time is on my side." Time. No, I'm not going to sing it. Time is on my side. There's nothing can be farther from the truth. Time is not on my side. We're fighting against time everywhere we go. There's not enough time in the day. Everybody's got the same amount of time. We have to schedule ourselves. We have to really be organized to be able to use our time wisely. But the thing is that not time is on our side, but God is in control. God has a plan, and God's plan is certain. And so when we say time is on our side, it doesn't really mean that we really need to go and just live how we want to, and eventually we'll wind up successful. Eventually, we will serve the Lord. No, what are you going to do today? How are you going to live your life today in the moment that you do have? Youngest daughter is 17 years old today. 17 years old today. I can remember back when the day that she was born in the delivery room and being part of the delivery. And so I was thinking, like, after all of 17 years, if I were to be her father, and she comes in and be a father that said, hey, you know what? In 17 years, this is the girl she's going to be. And made plans for her, big plans, and did nothing in the moment to prepare for that. Then what kind of father would I be, right? But even greater than that, is that my plans for her should not revolve around uncertainty. My plans for her should revolve around the certainty of things in life. And the only thing that's certain is I want her to love Jesus. That's the one thing that I want for her life. Now, that's the plan that I have, that I'm supposed to be working on in each moment and saying, how can I, and I have failed many times, but how can I as a father in the moments that I do have with my daughters and with my wife and with my friends and with my family, how can I use that time to bring about the plans of God for their life? And I can't, here's the thing is I can't make things happen. But I know this time is too short and we don't have that much time. So it is. In Ephesians 5:16 says, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. Make the best use of the time. So here is a third thought. The reason why we don't make plans without God is, number one, we're not in control. And number two is our days are numbered, which time's short. Only God holds that in his hands. And we'd be disappointed. But number three is you are called to be obedient. Now, this is interesting. In the last verse, he says, verse 15, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. And then the very last is, so whosoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. So if we are using the time that we do have and we are making plans, it's not wrong. Make plans for the future as you're going along. Nothing wrong with that. But it says this, if the Lord, this is what you're supposed to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. So when we usually say, hey, if you're going to make plans with God in mind, some of us would think that we are saying, all right, I'm going to make some plans and then I'm going to look at God and say, God, would you please bless this? You ever done that? You better say amen, because I know you have. I have, right? We're all on that. We can all go to the altar on that one. We've all made plans and said, God, bless it. And when he doesn't, when God says, I ain't blessing that, I ain't going within 100 miles of that, then we get mad at God because our plans were more important than God's plans. And so instead of wasting your time, listen to this carefully, instead of wasting your time saying, I'm going to do this and that, and then find out if God's will is part of it, start with God's will first. Students, all the way to those of you who are retired, Instead of wasting time saying, I want to do what I want to do and my plans are very important, I want to see if God's in it. Instead of doing that and wasting your time, spend your time wisely, live a life that matters by starting with God's will first. What does God want me to do first? And then go after it. Oh, we waste so much time on our own will and our own plans. But if we can plan with God's will in mind and saying, God, I want you to guide my life and I want you to lead my life. And here's what God says about leading life. These are God's plans for us. Look at this in this verse 17. Whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. Do what's right. In making plans, do what's right. Now, in the text, right does not mean moral as in my morals, however the government sees or however the law is made in the world or however we think in the church that laws are made. No, it's not about morality, it's about righteousness. The word right literally means right with God. So our lot in life, and when we make plans, everything about us should be doing the right things. Now, as you know, it's going to take the blood of Jesus Christ on our lives for us to even start there. But what James is actually saying is, if you say you have faith, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you're going to want to live right. You're going to want to do the Lord's will. So when he's saying doing the right thing, he's actually saying doing something that glorifies God. Using your life, using your time, spending your life, making your plans to glorify God. I want to glorify God as a father and as a husband. And I want to glorify God if I was single. I want to glorify God with everything that I am so that when it's over, I will know that I've done what is right. Because see, we only have so much time. Imagine this. I only have a short amount of time. I don't know how long I'm going to live. So what am I going to do in the meantime, in my marriage, with my kids, as someone who is single? You know, you don't know how long you've got with your friends. Students, you think you got forever. I've had friends in high school that I still talk to. Still friends with. I've got friends in high school I hadn't seen since high school, and they were best friends. But I have to look back and say, well, the time that I did have with them, how did I use it? It really does boil down to this, is that not really looking towards the future, but looking at the moment and really analyzing. Now, I hope you're catching this, and we're all catching this, is that the moments that you do have, how are you living in that moment with your friends, with your family, and all of those? An example of that would be with the kids ministry. They have an app that you give to families. I hope you've got the app and maybe seen it, that it shows how long you've got with your kids, like 930 weeks, something like that. So if you've got 930 weeks, you're like, oh, that's a lot. I'll just take one or two of them weeks and give them Jesus. Instead of saying each and every week, how am I going to spend with their lives? Our goal for the church is to reach the upstate. Really, our main goal and our plan is to connect people in the upstate with Jesus to change their world. And so as we move along, that is our goal. And so we're living as we're going to make that goal happen. So here's the end of it. What happens when we make plans without God? What happens when we make plans without God? The first thing that happens is that we benefit ourselves and not our neighbor. Making plans without God benefits only you for a short time until you're disappointed. Second thing, and write this down too, is that joy, peace, and certainty. This is Josh Pratt, wonderfully preached at the 10 o'clock Modern. Phenomenal thought. Joy, peace, and certainty are dependent on our plans. So it means this, that if you make plans without God and those plans don't take place, your peace, your joy, and your certainty is gone. It's gone. And if it's gone, what are you going to do? But if you make your plans with God, meaning that if you seek God's will, and then if the plans that you did have don't happen, they don't take place, they go away, they vanish, you still have the certainty of Jesus Christ in your life. You still have peace, you still have joy. It means that your life is not determined on the plans that you make without God. Plans rob you of intimacy with God. It robs you. Your plans rob you of intimacy with God because it's all about you. And then we say, well, why not? Why can't God make plans for us? All of you, why can't God be the one that plans our lives? We have such a hard time with it, don't we? And I'm not beating this up. James is just saying, why would it's such a hard time? It's kind of, sometimes we don't trust God. We're just saying, God, your plans are not my plans, and your plans are going to mess up my plans. So I don't want you to plan. But here's the thing, know this, God planned creation, and he said it was good. God planned salvation through Jesus Christ to heal us from our brokenness, and he said it was finished. God planned that the Spirit would come into our lives and would guide us each and every step that we go, where we wouldn't be alone and we would have a comforter. And he said that was good. God also made plans to give us a home, that when we breathe our last breath, that we have a home in heaven. We have a place that we go to after we breathe our last breath. Jesus has made plans. His plans are perfect. You can trust God with your plans. Not disease, not me, not heartbreak, not money, not greed, not these things, not lust. It's God's plans that are important. So what would we say? My time is in your hands. The psalmist said in Psalm 31, my time is in your hands. Rescue me from the hand of my enemies. My time is in your hands. There are some animals that live a long time. The Galapagos tortoise, lives a long time. As a matter of fact, there's a tortoise that lived with Charles Darwin back in the 1830s. That tortoise died in 2006. Imagine that. You know what that tortoise did with its life? Nothing. Now, thank God for tortoises. I thank God for what they do. I don't know what it is, but there are two things that are different than tortoises and you and I. Number one is we don't live that long. And number two, God has given us a life that can impact everyone around us. So the question is, what are you going to do with that life? What are you going to do with that time? Make plans with God. As we take of the Lord's Supper, we're talking about that, and God has called us to be obedient to Him and to remember and to know that we can't be obedient to Him except for the fact that He died for us on the cross. And He wants us to remember, He has planned for us to remember and never forget His death on the cross for our sins. God's planned that for us. He planned that Jesus would die for our sins, and then He planned for us to never forget. So we do this regularly. In God's plans for your life is to take of the Lord's Supper. Now, why would we do that? Is because we want to remember that Jesus Christ He has saved me. When you take of the bread and you take of the cup, if you're a follower of Christ, if you take of that, then it's reminding you, it is a symbol to you that you have taken Jesus into your life and He is sacrificed for you. You are also knowing that when you get up from here, you're taking Jesus with you. And then the next time that you have supper with Jesus, it's going to be in heaven. Jesus says, hey, remember this. When you take this, the next time you take it with me, you're going to be in heaven. Jesus says, I want you to remember and never forget. So here's the invitation for all of us is we're going to be sitting, y'all are going to be sitting there. We're going to be playing some music, and then we're going to pass these out. And as we're passing these out, this is a solemn moment for all of us to reflect. If you need Jesus in your life, it is a time to say, I need Jesus as part of my life, to repent and to trust him to be my Savior. If you are a follower of Christ and you've got sin in your life, this is a moment, a solemn moment for you to say, Jesus died for those sins and I need to repent. It could be that you are sitting there and saying, God, I've got a whole lot of plans that you're not part of. And God, I need you to change them. I need you to change me. So as the deacons come forward for us to receive this, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to pass out the bread. As Jesus sat with his disciples, he says, I want you to remember that I'm dying for you. I'm going to die for you. So as you take of that, and when we pass it out, just hold the bread, and at the end, we will take it together, and then we'll take of the cup. Heavenly Father, we're grateful this morning for everything that you've done for us and everything that you've given to us. God, I pray that in these moments that we would constantly be reminded of your grace and your glory for us. As we take this, make this solemn moment one that we will be changed by. In Jesus' name.